Welcome to the Outer Realm with Michelle DeRoche and Amelia Pisano. Airing live on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM in New Orleans.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Thursday night segment of The Outer Realm. We are broadcasting live right here in the United Public Radio Network and UFO Paranormal Radio Network 105.3 FM from the beautiful city of New Orleans. We are fully sponsored by the amazing people over at Folgers Coffee who have been a part of our journey since the very beginning. So thank you, Folgers. We appreciate you so very much. Also, big thank you to Dr. Snick, the sonic surgeon, aka Justin Snicker, who's an award-winning composer of Halloween horror, sci-fi, and dark wave electronic music. There's a tongue twister for tonight. Who basically you can find his music, Bandcamp, Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, anywhere that you can find good music. He is the voice behind our intro, our outro, and he certainly is the music. So big thank you to him. Also, big thank you to Steve McGinnis, who is the artist behind our banners and our imagery, basically. So find him on Instagram, find him on Facebook, look him up. He's got fantastic artwork just ready to be had, and custom order is always appreciated. So tonight we welcome back, and I see a lot of people waiting in chat. Welcome back the return of Richard Stanley. He's going to be discussing everything H.P. Lovecraft. He's also going to be discussing his film Color Out of Space. So basically, you name it, get your questions and comments ready. It's going to be pretty exciting. We love having Richard coming onto the show, and I like H.P. Lovecraft. And some people do, some people don't. I think it's really interesting, and the connection, I think, to the film is also very interesting. And even though I haven't had a chance to, I haven't had a chance to watch it.
Yeah, it's on Prime if anyone's interested.
Good.
Hi, Alex. I was just thinking of you too. I'm under the weather, so this is better. This is better for everybody right now.
But I'm thinking of burritos, and it came to mind. So we love you, Alex. Yes, we do.
Yeah.
But chat room we've got Alex, we've got Cheval, we've got Dolly, we've got Wayne, Tamara, we've got, let me see, Jim Gerard. Looking forward to this. Fantastic. So are we. So yes, filling up. This is wonderful. And of course, Alex, there you are. And Tamara says, hope you get better, Bubbles.
Oh, thank you. It's the time of year, it's just the time of year. And I'm one of those people who as a child was sick a lot, and the work that we do, it does that too. And so does, any medication and anything like that. So that crap always happens with me. But thank you so much for your best wishes. I just figured, it's dark. It's a little bit of bronzer and I'm good.
And hiding in the background. And
yes, not too much light, because really I'm very, very white. Yeah. So, I'm definitely, I've got a low grade fever right now. So,
right. No, it's not good.
It's okay.
People just need you all to bear in mind, we are working with 8 different chat rooms. And it's like a super highway that kind of comes down into one lane here into the soundboard. So, we also have to keep up with the guests. We can't get too far ahead of him, or, when we're asking or putting the questions up. So please do bear with us, because there are quite a few messages coming in, and we do our very best, and we will try to make sure that all comments get put up and all questions get addressed. Hello, Michael Kennedy. Hello. Spookies. I love it. So the link has been sent to Richard.
Holy crap.
Killer microphone. So, we're just waiting on Richard to come in now. So link has been sent. So I don't know. Be interesting. He's in the south of France right now. Ooh, we lost Bubbles. I have to wait for her to come back. He is in the south of France right now, so he's a real champion because it's probably like 3:20 a.m. there right now, and he's coming on to do this live. He's a bit of a night owl, but he also really enjoyed interacting with everybody in chat the last time. So I know he'll have a really good time because it's really difficult with the pre-records. I think that both the guests and the people in chat both miss out. So even when we're behind the scenes trying to bring up all of these comments and so on, it makes it really difficult. It's quite the same. So now I've lost my co-host. Waiting for my guest. Woo! Good times. Okay, hold on. Bubbles is back.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't want to adjust that and make all that noise, so I thought it better just seriously. It just went flying. It's a very heavy mic arm.
Take Bubbles out, Bubbles down.
I'm like, what the actual? Yeah.
I know. I have to guess. Hold on. I have sent. Okay, so I have sent this through to him, so he should have it.
Yeah.
So he message asking for it. There it is. So I guess now we just wait.
Technical, difficult, spookies. Yes, I can.
Yeah.
Technical. The whole arm swing at me.
And Tyler, hey, I know it's too funny. That came totally out of like nowhere. So,
oh my God.
So there's a lot of really good Lovecraft stuff. The Necronomicon is the one I am the most interested in. I own the book, and it's one of these things that it doesn't seem to be regulated. Like how a lot of authors just seem to have everything's copyrighted. Even after death, the family copyrights everything, and you can't really do very much with it. Whereas that didn't seem to be the case with Lovecraft. And you see a lot of people redoing his work, and you see his books coming out. Like that book alone, the Necronomicon, I can't tell you how many authors have sort of grabbed it and reworded, like they've just sort of made it their own. There's a lot of different versions of it. But what I want, really want to touch on with Richard is some people believe this is a real thing, while other people are just like, no, it was just one of his creations. I need to know, because it's been manhandled so many times. I just don't know which end is up anymore.
That's my thoughts with the fourth kind, just saying. It has to be real.
The fourth kind. Oh my god.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Richard's latest film that I believe it debuted on Netflix.
Right.
In 2020, which had the highest views for that lockdown period.
Oh wow.
A Color Out of Space.
Color Out of Space. That's right. Yeah.
And Nicolas Cage is in there. And
right.
Yeah.
And what did you think about it? I know, don't give a review. Don't give anything away.
I don't want to give anything away because I don't want to misinterpret what he did a phenomenal job directing the cameras, the cinematography. He did a phenomenal job.
Right.
I think once I started watching it and then I paused it and then I researched H.P. Lovecraft a little bit more to understand him more. And then the film made sense to me.
Oh, okay.
All of a sudden it was like, oh, because you see, you see it, but I don't want to give it away. But you can watch it. It's on Amazon in Canada right now. So you can watch it on Prime. I would imagine that the US has it as well. Internationally, I don't know. There's a lot of restrictions with the UK, with Amazon and films. Believe it or not, they have more censorship than Canada does. We thought we were it, but and in some of the strangest things don't even appear. But it's a really good film, and I love Nick Cage. So for me, anything he's in, I watch regardless. But knowing Richard, it just made it that much more special to watch the film. Are we having issues getting him?
I am. You know what? I've sent it twice now. So I am just going to wait and
He
see.
hasn't responded at all?
No, but he requested the link. So I'm just hoping that
Oh,
he
so
doesn't have.
yeah, he's
Yeah.
awake.
Oh, he's awake. Yeah. I was wondering if he's having a tech issue all the way down there. Like I said, I'm just going to respond to this. Also sent you the link twice. There we go.
Yeah.
I'm on board.
But I was pleasantly surprised. I expected it to be a little bit different. And then, like I said, I'm not a big H.P. Lovecraft, not a fan, not to say not a fan, because I really didn't know that I knew him.
Right.
You know, like it's one of those things that's always been in the background of your life, but you just didn't really know about it.
Right.
And you didn't realize it. And then when I started watching a little bit more and I watched the where they're telling about his characters,
Mhm.
then the film just makes a lot more sense
Right. Right.
for
Right.
me. But that's my
Right.
perspective.
No,
Yeah.
I'm going to do here. I'm
But if you're
also.
into sci-fi, you'll love it. That's all I can say. Me, sci-fi, I have to dig and
Right.
research. But
Right.
if you enjoy sci-fi, you will love the movie Color Out of Space
I'm going to send this on Facebook
with
too.
Nicolas Cage.
There. I'm just sending it on
And then you can
Facebook.
say, I saw and I chatted with him in the chat room on the Outer Realm. This is so cool. I'm watching his movie now.
Right. Yeah, it is
One
really
of the perks
cool.
of being here tonight.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I love sci-fi. You know, of course, here we've got, you know, the writers and illustrators of the future, and Ron Hubbard, and he's got a lot of stuff, and they've sent over a couple of different stories for us to listen to.
Yes.
When we were guests on, you know, on their show, on John Goodwin's show.
That's right. We were on that. Yeah.
We were, and I thought it was really well done. Like totally different than Lovecraft sort of stuff. It was just like really sort of futuristic and sort of like a mind ninja thing. Because after I started reading, I'm like, now I have to go through it quick.
This film is playing with your mind.
Psychological thriller,
this movie
like that sort of thing. Yeah.
This film plays with your mind.
Right.
You think it's one thing, and then you find out something else, and then you never. That's why you can't even spoil it for anyone, because you never understand it till you understand it.
Right. Right.
You know.
Well,
I'm good
I
at
don't know.
keeping stuff to myself when it comes to films, because I hate when people spoil them for me. But I can tell you, no one can spoil this film for you. You will not see any of it coming.
Oh, okay. Well, that might be definitely worth, you know, taking some time. And like I said, I love a lot of Lovecraft stuff. So, and there's just so much of it. Stuff like this is something I never knew was a Lovecraft thing. And until you said, oh yeah, there's this connection. Like what? Really?
And you'll because you love Lovecraft, as soon as you'll see it a lot sooner than I did.
Right.
So yeah.
Well, I mean, you know, yeah, I really dig Lovecraft. I mean, again, and I think it's just because I've got friends who are into it. You know, one of my Alex Lovecraft.
Alex needs to watch the film.
Yeah, there you go.
Watch the film with Lisa. Yeah, it's yeah.
So, but again, you know, there's so much controversy around him as well, and it's almost as though, you know, you just didn't hear much about it until he was just gone, until he passed away. Then it's like all of a sudden, it's like every great artist, you know, everything comes out to the forefront, and like you get famous when you pass away. But I just find it interesting that nobody ever did much to copyright his stuff, like to redo some of these things almost without limitation.
They've used, but they've used his concepts in films in Hollywood, because now that I know, looking back, I see them all, you know, where I didn't know, and they're not necessarily sci-fi. Some of them are thrillers, some of them are horrors. But to see Richard Stanley's hand on the direction of the film was what was most impressive for me. The motion that he created with the direction was just really, really good. I look at stuff like that, maybe because my brother-in-law's an actor. I don't know. I have to watch a lot of stuff, and he talks a lot about technical things. And it was a joy to see someone that I have, you know, spoken to on air with do such an incredible production.
I'm going to try this a different way.
In the Mouth of Madness is a Lovecraft themed movie. In the Mouth of Madness.
Yeah, so there we go. Stanley.
Isn't there a film about him too? Wasn't there one, H.P. Lovecraft? I can't remember. There's a documentary on YouTube about him, and they talk about all his works. And the funny thing is, Cthulhu, which one's that one? Cthulhu actually only had 12 people that have read it by the time he passed away. It's one of his biggest, and it's just shocking. Cthulhu. Wow. I couldn't see the word in front of my head there.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. When you see it, much like Oscar Wilde, they became bigger later, and Van Gogh and
right. Well,
every great artist before them.
It's always the way, for sure.
Especially back in those days, people are like, wow, the Renaissance created so many poets and artists. I said, well, yeah, but if people weren't so technical right now, we'd probably have poets and artists again. They're using a different medium, and you have to find it, and it's just a different time. But in the time, it was paints.
Right.
And was there a lot of greats? Yes. Was there a high population like today?
Right. There we go. Here's another one.
Dreamcatcher was influenced by Lovecraft. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know.
That's the name I was looking for.
Again, there's so much, when you start digging into Lovecraft, you start realizing he was really racist. Really racist.
Gosh. And I'm not going to say what he said.
No, but
I'm not going to say what he said, but you look it up on YouTube and you hear it, you can't unhear it.
No.
And if you're a big fan of his, you might not want to listen to that.
Well, maybe there's a reason he never really took off when, in his living years, because he was just so outspoken.
But many people around him were. It wasn't
a sign of the times, you know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Right. Yes.
Right.
And we were talking about how his mother came from a family that was highly inbred. Multiple generations.
Really?
And and his father passed away of cancer, and then he eventually died of cancer, but never sought treatment. No. He just lived in agony and like a recluse, which was very common for that time as well.
Well, he moved into his family's estate, I think, on his mom's side or something. They were very well to do, something, big mansion and a lot of, played on the spheres and things like that, which was sort of instrumental in him coming forward to, all of these amazing creations.
He was raised by his aunts because his parents had passed away. Yeah.
Right.
I just was really shocked at when they said the tumors inside of him were multiple, and he lived in agony the rest of his life, but reclusive, which
ate expired food, just like God.
Well, it wouldn't matter at that point.
No, I guess not,
Yeah.
So very
bizarre, bizarre. But I think with all the greats, the reason why they are great is not just because of their work, but because of the story that comes with their death as well in their later years. Like
how they lived.
Yeah, look at what's his name?
How they lived.
That. Oh my God.
Yeah, I don't know.
From the airplane. Hugh, what's his name?
I was going to say half of
that. No, I was going to too. But that's a different company that house sold for over $4 million. But anyways,
what's the first Hugh that comes to your mind? I don't know, Hefner.
No, the other one.
Howard Hughes.
The multi-Hughes, Howard Hughes.
I know.
That's why I got it the wrong way. He was the same kind of messed up. Thank you, Michael. Yes, I had the Q, but I didn't have the Howard. Thank you.
Right.
Yeah. I'm going to blame it on the under the weather thing.
It's the medication that works.
I always confuse his name, and it takes me a minute. Right. I mean, I watched Aviator, and I thought that was an incredible movie on his life, and Leonardo DiCaprio just slayed that. But again, recluse and just let themselves go. I feel like this is just part of being genius and creative sometimes when they're misunderstood. And the times were not ready for H.P. Lovecraft's mind at all.
No, I don't. I think you're not wrong on that. Like he was definitely. I mean, he what he died like 19. What was it, like 37 or around there,
I don't
47?
remember.
I don't even remember. But he was just very like he you get people who are just so eccentric that they just don't really care
That's why they're
what they
eccentric.
say. Yeah, like I know.
Because they really
But
don't care. But
but
yeah.
when you're in a when you're in a position of like I always say, after you've been in the public eye, you just start looking at things differently. I always say you have to govern oneself accordingly. You just don't want to be like, I wouldn't want to be running people off the road, just, being
No.
really belligerent and being, you have to take into consideration integrity. And it just seems like we lived through a time where there was, like, if there was integrity, it certainly was selective.
It was different. They lived through a lot of wars too, world wars. When you were
Sure.
talking about
Yeah.
1930s, 1940s, you've gone through 2 world wars and a Cold War.
Right.
That's
Right.
insane,
Yeah.
But I don't know what that does to people. I hope I never find out.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
we've lived, every generation lives through something. But what people in chat, maybe chime in. What's everybody's? I mean, obviously, there's a lot of people in here who are, you're either a Richard Stanley fan or you're a Lovecraft fan. So why don't you chime in with your favorites? I have to say, for me, I love Cthulhu, but I really like the Necronomicon. I really, really, really dig
The
that.
what?
Would you say? Then I'll sound it out for you. The Necronomicon.
Oh, yes. That was the big one. The big one. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Is that the...
Yeah. Dolly's actually coming on. Yeah. Well, yeah. Cthulhu's like the big, like,
Cthulhu's the
type.
big octopus head?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Dolly is coming on. She's coming on in January, Michael. Q&A.
Yep.
She's going to be doing a Q&A.
Start writing up your questions.
Exactly. So, but yeah, that's, again, I think it's just because there's so much mystery around that one. I love it. I know people who just totally love, like, Cthulhu. I ended up having, my son loved him, my youngest son, and I went and asked Eric Werner, who was a friend of mine, and he, really great artist. He did a lot of commission pieces for me, and one was Cthulhu. It was probably the first one I ever got for him. And
Wow.
I know, it was just really, really well done.
Sad to think only 12 people read it by the time he died.
There we go, Alex. So, Alex, what's your take on it? Because some people figure it's one of his best works of fiction, and it's been touched on so much that now people are starting to wonder, was it fiction at all? What's your take on it? And I'll put up other names. Ulfar, yeah, that's a good one too. There we go. Over Innsmouth, yeah. Well, it's a hard one to it's a hard one. He's got a lot of really good ones. I mean, there's some out there, like I said, I never would have guessed Color Out of Space was based on any of Lovecraft stuff.
You see this one, you'll know it right away.
Have I ever heard of this book? Sorry. No, I have not. Sorry, I totally did not even see this comment. Should I look this up?
Alhazred by Donald Tyson.
Yeah, I'll write it down.
What's it about?
Yeah. Feel free to elaborate.
No
Alex.
kidding.
It sounds like a good tease. Why don't you just enlighten us?
Yes.
And we'll put it up here and we'll share it up.
Wow, I wonder if they're having trouble overseas with internet.
I mean, it's 3:38 in the morning over there, but he just messaged me.
Yeah, but he messaged you, so we know he's awake. He's just probably having trouble with his internet.
They just messaged me. Yeah, this is pretty crazy. So I don't know. We may just be turning this into a full-on Q&A at this rate. My God.
No kidding. It was barely mentioned in his writings, mostly alluded to. That's why. Because I watched a lot of videos on him today. That's what I like to do when I'm under the weather and I'm just kind of stuck in bed. I love watching YouTube. But, like, I need nonfiction.
Yeah, right. I
Yes,
know, I know, I
documentary
know.
style stuff because I will just fall asleep.
So,
Um,
obviously, I did not know this. I need to delve a little, like, majorly deeper into
so
this
what is
book. Goes to show you how many books I have.
that created?
I have like skimmed through this one. I love it. But again, I have different versions of it also.
There's,
And my
I have,
daughter snagged it. So I'm just kind of like, no,
man,
forget it
you guys
back.
are all into that.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah, my
it's a
kid
good
reads
thing.
like all these self-help and business books. I don't exactly borrow books from her. But
Oh, see,
yeah,
yeah. Oh, great. That's just great.
we had a big, nice.
Sammy. That would
Can you,
explain
Jolly,
so
when that
much
happens, can you
today.
just give us a heads up in the morning?
I know, I know. You know what?
Thank you.
Honestly, that's just dandy. It would explain a lot of things for today, though. If you
Oh my God. Wow,
Okay,
I
I'm
really
gonna look
do
up.
look dark on screen. I just looked at it
I
because
will
I
check
was
that
looking.
out. Thank you, Alex. I will check that out. Tamara, unfortunately, I'm going to have to reread. As the older I get, the more I forget. I know, right? I
Okay.
know. Read it like it's a new read. I love it.
There's an entire um, film on YouTube called The Complete Cthulhu Mythos, and it's 22 hours long. So it just dives into all of it, right?
Oh yeah.
And there was another one that I love. There's a 27-minute, just an H.P. Lovecraft special for Halloween, which was really, really good for someone who's a beginner, And then A Titan of Terror was a biographic on him,
Right.
which in 21 minutes you get the gist of everything. I watched a
Right.
lot of them today, just saying. But
Yeah.
bits and
Yeah.
pieces here and there just to learn more. I was just a little surprised by his mother's side of the family, but then not so much because of the times.
Right.
I mean, that stuff still happens now, right? So really.
Now I'm going to go and just leave that for right now because that scrolling is driving me crazy. I've nothing else to concentrate on except for bubbles. It's right across from me.
It is when you have it on a bigger screen, it's even more.
Can you explain an M-class CME for those who don't know? Because if any people were experiencing weirdness today, just everything going wrong and electronics just being, sort of iffy, it was kind of a blend of everything for me today. And other people I know who were messaging and saying, is it just us or is today just completely messed up? And people were asking, can you check me? It's like, why? Just had that kind of a day, because that kind of a day does happen naturally.
I know.
So,
it's
sorry,
it's
man.
tough because it's tough.
Always on it. Yeah, she is. No, yes, she is. So I just brought up a little bit of Lovecraft stuff while we're waiting. So it says here he spent much of his time writing, and as a child prodigy, continued scribbling until his death diary, which is something he left behind, a mountain of work. He wrote hundreds of poems, scores of essays, and of course, his most famous beginning was, quote, the oldest and strongest emotion of mankind is fear, and the oldest and strongest kind of fear is fear of the unknown. And that's in a article from theatlantic.com if anybody wants to go and check it out. So he's got like all kinds of links in here. Like you can go in and check out all kinds of stuff. So,
Yeah.
So a few years after he died, the New Yorker critic Edmund Wilson wrote bluntly, Lovecraft was not a good writer. The only real horror of most of these fictions is a horror of bad art or bad taste. Oh, that would be really harsh. I mean, the guy still lives on today. So I don't know, man. Say what you want, but he's still kicking. He's got a really big.
There's a cult following for him, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
I wonder what he would think of all this if he was here today. I think he'd be quite pleased with himself.
Donald Tyson created the Cthulhu tarot cards. Why do I think
there's
that would just be awesome?
tarot cards?
Yeah.
I don't do tarot, so I'm not familiar with.
No, but anybody who digs Lovecraft would probably get right into something like that. That's a lot of imagery.
Wow.
That would be
I'm going to
very
start
cool.
learning how to draw.
I know, right? No stick figures allowed, Bubbles. That's just we'll be working. She says,
Hey,
"Okay, I'm
with
going to
all
draw
this
you a
tech,
picture," and I'm
yeah,
just
I
like,
know.
"Oh,
Oh, you should see
I
my
don't know
crime
what to
scene. You
fix."
should see my crime scene drawings. They're even worse.
Oh,
But
oh,
it comes
we
with a
have
big
them.
explanation.
That's,
You know that little curly thing that looks like Charlie Brown's squiggly hair? That's this.
hello,
Yeah.
hello, Steve. No, I don't know. I would love something like that. Again, but again, like I like Lovecraft, so I have friends
Alex
who
has
just
them. Okay, you can
really.
show me when I see you.
Oh my God, I'm just gonna see here. I think I pulled up another article on him. Hold on. Um, this one was on the Necronomicon. Originated as it says right here. It originated as a fictional book in the works of H.P. Lovecraft and grew into an extended literary in-joke as other horror writers organically added to the Cthulhu mythos, like what you were talking about. See, this is crazy. So according to Lovecraft, it was written by, okay, this is what Alex said right here. It was written by Abdul al-Hazred, a mad Arab poet of the Yemen in 950 AD. So I don't know. I'm parked in the studio. No, you're not. I can assure you I followed your link. No. There, okay. Here we go. We just came in.
Wow.
Oh, you just now came in.
You were in bed earlier
What are we
today.
missing? I know. Yeah, I don't know. You didn't come on this soundboard till just
Right,
now.
I followed the link you sent me, so I've been in a little,
Creepy. Well,
yeah,
apparently,
HP knows. HP knows. He came back. He shoved you over. Watched your film today, Richard. Fantastic.
Oh, wait, glad you liked it. And yeah, it's
Yeah.
a pleasure being back and to be out of that strange cyber eddy that I was stuck in there.
right. Yeah. Well, apparently, according to Dolly in chat room, says it was an M-class CME today, which sort of, messes up everything, all the electronics, all of everything.
Yeah,
Because
solar
we've been in
and
the soundboard
magnet.
here for since 9 o'clock and just getting things ready. And I sent the same link to Amelia. She came right in.
Twice.
And yeah, you've just been lost in cyberspace somewhere. Must be the topic of conversation or something. So, but welcome.
Yeah, it's good to
made
be
it.
on the show. Yeah.
Yeah, we've been keeping your seat warm. So, trying to talk, this whole Lovecraft thing. It's just some people love him, some people hate him. It's just it's not their thing. But I don't know. It certainly is
an
my
understanding.
thing.
I think it's an understanding of him because I said that I started watching your film. It's actually on Amazon in Canada right now. And I started watching the film and then I paused it and I went to research a little bit more about H.P. Lovecraft. And I came back and went, oh, and it was a whole different experience.
I'm so glad to hear that.
Yeah, so where fantastically done.
Where do you want to start? Where do you want to start? Do you want to talk with, let's talk Lovecraft, what it was all about, and just sort of work our way into how you ended up coming up with the film. So we'll start from the beginning, and we have lots of time.
I'm pleased to hear that. Yeah, it's the middle of the night here in the French Pyrenees and beginning of December. It's first real winter out there. It's super dark and kind of appropriate for the subject matter.
Oh, I love it. I love it. It's just dark and cold here. Nothing exciting.
It's freezing here. Freezing.
So, I know. Okay, excellent. So why don't you tell us about H.P. Lovecraft as for anybody who hasn't heard of him or people who are just sort of coming into him, because he's more famous now, of course, than he was even when he was alive, like most amazing artists. So
yeah, no, he was completely insignificant during his own lifetime, and I think lived a life of total seclusion and kind of appalling poverty. Had very little to eat by the end, and was dead by the time he was 47 years old. and saw very little of his work actually find its way into publication in his lifetime. I think none of it was published in in hardback form during his life.
No.
Stories only appeared in pulp magazines, and a lot of the better stuff was never published at all. So he had probably no conception of what would happen after his death.
What do you think he would? How do you think he would feel if he was here right now today to see all of this?
I think a combination of amusement and horror, which is pretty appropriate for Lovecraft. I would imagine he would be highly amused by some of the things that have happened, and utterly appalled by
the interpretation.
Like that's awesome.
Amused, happy that everybody knows who he is, but yet a little upset because of the interpretation sometimes, maybe because he was so, it was his and his only kind of thing.
Well, it's one so far. And one of the things that he did, which was really, I think, incredibly far ahead of the game, and far ahead of anything that we are able to fully understand right now, is that he created a shared universe that exists completely outside of copyright control. During his lifetime, he encouraged other writers to use his pantheon, different gods and different tropes like the Necronomicon, and encouraged other folk to add on to the mythology, and thus created something which was its own shared fictional universe that could keep expanding, that the reader or the audience were really able to add to. And in the present day, people are only just getting used to the idea of the Marvel verse, or Walt Disney, of a brand which creates its own shared universe, or which has multiple films, television series, and different products tied into it. But Lovecraft kind of created a universe that exists entirely outside of corporate control, that is self-perpetuating. And from the time it was introduced into through the pulp magazines and his initial stories into our culture, about 100 years has passed. And in the course of that century, a lot of those ideas have reproduced themselves extremely successfully, to the point that they've pretty much permeated the whole of human culture. I mean, kids in Africa, in the French Pyrenees, in Russia, in Japan, can all identify Cthulhu.
Of course.
Yes.
You can't. There's a lot of these they can't identify, but they can identify Cthulhu. I love that. What makes somebody? He's pretty much like some people just like, oh no, the New Yorker after he passed away, like, oh, he wasn't a good writer at all. I don't know, man. The guy's still kicking. He's got staying power. But what do you think contributed to him going down this specific path? Because he was really out there, and he was also really controversial. He was just like extremely racist, for one, but it was a sign of the times, right? I mean, we were talking about that earlier. Might be a reason, though, why he didn't make it too far in life, because I think you were just coming into that whole where that wasn't cool. Here in the U.S., they were just like, no, you had the South behaving one way, you had the North behaving another way, but around the world, it was quite different. But what do you think contributed in his life to follow down the path that he did, to write all this really obscure stuff?
Well, I think he didn't have any choice, from the point of view that he was facing a series of unfortunate circumstances. And I think because of the way he was brought up, he was naturally extremely reclusive and cut off from the mainstream of human life.
Right, because some people thought,
um,
oh, he was just mad, and
I
other
think
people was like, no, he was brilliant.
towards the latter part of his life, I know he only went out at night and couldn't handle even going out in the daytime.
Mm,
And even when he was a child and a younger man, had a very difficult time talking to other children or striking up interpersonal relationships. It was only when he started corresponding with different amateur periodicals that he really started to
Yeah.
make friends or reach out to other people.
right.
And as such, I think he followed his own strange path, taking off from Edgar Allan Poe and the Arabian Nights and decadent romantic fiction, and was pretty much unaware or uninterested in the modern American novel and the way that mainstream culture was going at the time.
Well, there were so many big names, writers and poets from that coast, the East Coast at the time as well. They were huge.
Right.
To think that they were all friends at one time or sitting at a bar, that's how I envision them.
Mm,
And coming back to another point there is that I also think it's really easy to, I guess, misinterpret these folk and to reinvent them in our own image and to impose onto them the standards of our present day, because I think the more I've looked into it, and because of current circumstances with cancel culture and everything else, I've been forced to look into it very, very, very closely. It seems to me that H.P. Lovecraft has been rather viciously misrepresented on a lot of fronts, because
Really?
a lot of the things which I am reading on the internet about him are simply not true, and massively exaggerated.
That's really sad.
We've
The doc-
hijacked a number of different ways and reinterpreted him. And when you actually try and zoom into the factual basis for these claims, it's a heck of a lot shakier than people make it out to be.
right.
Like to give you a glowing prime example of this, what I'm seeing is in the present day is a lot of folk are attacking people for selling Lovecraft merch or Lovecraftiana, or writing to outlets that are selling Lovecraft books and saying, are you prepared to cancel this author because his books are full of the N-word, to directly quote some of the things I've read, which caused me to zoom into that detail. I thought, yeah, really?
That is it.
It turns out that the only use of the N-word in Lovecraft's fiction is in a story called The Rats in the Walls. In The Rats in the Walls, it's the name of the cat. N-Man is the name of the black cat in The Rats in the Walls that defends the narrator against the rats.
Right.
Which is the only usage of the N-word that I've actually can locate in anything that's of Lovecraft's published fiction.
Right.
And then zooming into that further, it turns out that this was the name of his childhood cat. He was given the cat when he was 4 years old.
Right.
He lost the cat 10 years later when he was 14. And it's the only pet he ever had. Clearly, when he writes about this awkwardly named cat, N-Man, it's pretty much the thing he loved most in life. He never owned another cat. And for years afterwards, writes lovingly of his childhood companion. And obviously, when he wrote Rats in the Walls, he put the cat into the story to defend the guy against the rats, because it's his beloved childhood companion.
Right.
Given that he was given the cat when he was 4 years old,
right.
I've got to question whether he even named the cat, and whether we should be attacking people in the present day and
For historical fiction or nonfiction,
the name of a 4-year-old boy's cat from the late 19th century.
For anything, though, for anything that was written then, you have to look at the vernacular. You have to look at the times. It's a bit ridiculous. I'm not. I want to be very careful.
Yeah, one has to be. It's sad, but I don't think
it's
that Lovecraft wasn't.
Again, sign of the times.
Yeah.
Right? So I do have a question for you.
Yes, Alex Rondini, who's a friend of ours, is asking, didn't Lovecraft basically write about his nightmares or an interpretation of his nightmares?
He certainly did. And he kept a dream diary and wrote very elaborate accounts of some of his dreams, several of which were posthumously published as short stories. When after he was dead, he became more popular. People literally clipped out some of the descriptions of dreams that he'd written to friends and people at the time, or recorded in his dream diary and published them as stories. So some are straight up accounts of dreams. And a lot of the more potent material, such as the Necronomicon, the Black Book of Ancient Lore that's at the center of most of these stories, comes directly from Lovecraft's dreams.
God, that's crazy. That's crazy. But I mean, genius. That you would. That would also
to add to that is that Lovecraft often blamed his dreams on indigestion. Sometimes it starts as indigestion again last night ! And then he launches into an account of the dream. And
he had cancer.
Yeah, he died of stomach cancer when he was 47. So this is probably linked to the indigestion.
Yes.
Begs the question as to whether the cancer caused the dreams or whether the dreams caused the cancer.
Well said. Well said.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts? Was he a prophet of sorts?
Well, one of the weirdest things about the man, and one of the reasons why I think his work's coming into under greater scrutiny in our present era, is that frequently he's describing things which didn't exist in his lifetime or in his period, things we didn't have names for. Or concepts that hadn't fully been defined. I guess at a pinch, a good example is the way that the alien architecture in Call of Cthulhu and other stories is described as being non-Euclidean architecture and non-Euclidean geometry. And I recall as a precocious, creepy kid at school, reading Lovecraft, I used the phrase non-Euclidean in an essay. And I mean, this must have been around 1978 or somewhere. It came back with a big red ring around it on the paper from the teachers saying there is no such thing. At that point in time, according to my school teachers, all geometry was Euclidean. This concept of non-Euclidean geometry was complete rubbish. Whereas what we have now is we are now aware of chaos science and fractal geometry. In fact, we use fractals to create the very VFX that we use to create color out of space. Non-Euclidean geometry is definitely a thing. And fractal geometry and the whole concept of I guess the patterns within chaos that we see in chaos science it bears Lovecraft out.
More food for thought always leaves more questions. I mean, if you look at everything that we're like the current state of our world right now, it would seem that a lot of what he put out there, is coming around full circle. It was very relevant, I guess you could say. I'm going to jump ahead again. Cosmic horror. What is cosmic horror?
I guess It's a phrase which we can use to probably describe Lovecraft's genre, which rather than gothic horror, it's kind of leapt into a world where we're dealing almost with the horror of the sheer scale of creation, of the sheer size of the universe, the sheer depth of time.
Right.
World in which humanity is insignificant, and where human emotions and human needs are essentially irrelevant. In a lot of Lovecraft's fiction, he's got very little interest in characters. He's got basically it's throwaway two-dimensional human characters in his stories. He knew nothing about humans and didn't really want to write about them. The stories, however, are not throwaway stories. He's more interested in evoking the true nature of the universe, according to Lovecraft. In that universe, humanity are insects or weed or bacteria. I think what most people mistake for his racism is kind of an aspect of his cosmic anti-humanism. I think he's pretty down on the entire human race.
Right. Yeah, I'd say so. I'd say so. And you know what? Yeah, that would definitely attribute to some of what people think about him or thought about him even now. It's really hard to get anything like to pinpoint anything on him because there were so many different views on him. Like I said, people either loved him or they hated him, one way or another. One of my favorite, I guess, Lovecraft is probably the Necronomicon. And there's a lot of people who believe this was actually a real thing. And then you have others like, no, it's just like it's one of his amazing creations. And other people are just like, no, this is a real thing. So what can you tell us about that? Because that one is still going strong. I mean, and again, because of the lack of copyright, it's just been changed. It's been added to. It's it's just been altered so much. It's just like, what is the original?
Well, I kind of believe Lovecraft from the point of view that Lovecraft claims he saw it in a dream. He dreamed the title of the book, and there's any number of folk who will tell you that the true Necronomicon came from elsewhere, but Lovecraft does say that he dreamed it. He saw the name of the book first, and since then, I mean, in the dream first. But since then, it's gone on to probably be, along with Cthulhu, the most recognizable Lovecraftian trope or archetype, which is spread right across our planet. People all over this world have heard of the Necronomicon. Very few of them know that it was invented by H.P. Lovecraft.
This is true.
It's successfully jumped into so many different forms. Such as, say, its appearance in the Evil Dead movies and
yes, that scared the crap out of me when they first came out. I was very uneasy about that, because I lived in the woods, so I sort of had a different perspective as to wanting to live in the woods at that time. But it definitely, not frightening. It's just one of those thriller things that just really made you think. And you're right. I think back.
I've always loved a little animated history of the Necronomicon at the beginning of Evil Dead 2, kind of something up mostly. But
it left its mark. Mark.
So a lot of folk believed the book is real. One of the things that's kind of dangerous or spiky about the whole Lovecraft canon, about the whole of the mythos, is that if enough people believe in something, it kind of becomes true.
Like the Tulpa effect.
There's the genuine danger that if enough people believe in it, somehow it life into existence.
Right.
That even if it started off as a fictional universe 100 years ago, if enough people around the planet start to believe in Great Cthulhu and start to believe in the Necronomicon, the damn thing might almost have the opportunity to slip across the boundary and pop real life existence.
It's happened. I mean, look at Slender Man. It's a tulpa. It's just created online by people who believed it and gave it characteristics and gave it personality, and and that's what Slender Man is. It's a tulpa, and it sounds a lot like that's what you're describing.
One kid in university on his laptop.
There you go.
And it almost killed people.
Yes.
Alex also asking, has Richard ever heard about Donald Tyson's book, All Has Read?
Yeah.
No, I haven't.
Oh, wow. Okay, Alex, do some enlightening. Again, we were talking about that before. This was based on the character. Am I saying that, explaining that properly? Hold on. Here we go. So I'll put this up.
Abdul Al-Hazred, the allegedly fictional author of the Necronomicon.
Yeah, from when it was like 950 AD, something.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
allegedly wrote the book in ancient Damascus before finally being devoured by ultra-dimensional demons in a crowded marketplace somewhere.
I just love it.
Oh, wow. Yes. I just Googled Donald Tyson. Holy crap.
Share with the class. There's only like,
well,
3 million people listening.
A teacher I've never seen myself as, but
right.
Yeah. The fourth book of occult philosophy, Necronomicon, is on there. There's a demonology book. Wow. Yeah, he's got 3 books of occult, and then that 4th one that I've got here. Wow. Making use of magic mirror. Okay, I'm done.
Use a
there's tons of stuff to do with the darkness, dark magic, witchcraft. There's a lot. There's a lot here. Wow, who knew? Thanks, Alex.
Yeah, I mean,
about how Al-Hazred became the mad Arab and wrote the book.
Yeah, I just had that up. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No, I'll put it back
I was
up.
looking at it.
I didn't think you could read 2 things at once. So
no, I'm magical sometimes.
I know.
Not that magical though. Yeah, I thank you for putting that out there, Alex. I'm very interested in reading more about this because I didn't even know he existed, and he's got loads of books.
Yeah, even I missed that one. So yeah.
Tyler wants to know if Lovecraft was a type of Nostradamus in foreseeing. Do we think he actually foresaw what was coming? I guess sort of like what we touched on with the prophet, him being a prophet. I kind of look at him like a little bit like Orson Welles, 1984. It's like visionary of a different kind. Things to come, because
I think he was maybe perceiving and trying to describe things that they didn't really have the terminology to understand at that point in time.
Well, you know what? Do you think he could have? Allegedly, when we sleep, some people believe we travel, or was he a contactee, abductee? Was he taken places to see all of this stuff? And he said, well, these were my dreams. But could he have been a traveler?
Well, indeed, and that which then reopens the question about the whether the Necronomicon exists or not, just because Lovecraft saw it in a dream.
Right.
Because there are elements of that in a number of the dreams.
Right.
For instance, there's a very lengthy and extremely well-written dream where he describes a past life as a Roman proconsul in pagan hill country, and down here in southern Europe, which is extremely accurate.
Right.
And we've also with Hamilton, who's a Hamilton Plight, who's a regular guest on the show.
He was supposed to stay awake to watch you, but I'm guessing I just messaged him. I'm guessing you're sleeping.
Yeah, Hamilton's still like myself under fighting this crazy war against witches. So he's also last time his place had just been hit by lightning.
Yes.
This time around yesterday, he was trying to retrieve Henry Lincoln's library from here in the zone, get it back to the UK, but the driver of the vehicle suddenly had
medical
back
emergency.
negative reaction and passed out at the wheel of the truck on the freeway.
Jeez.
Yeah, which again to me felt like an act of potential malicious witchcraft.
It could only happen, to Hamilton.
Oh,
At this point, I razz him about stuff like this all the time. I'm like, only you, only you.
But yeah, nonetheless, I got to say we've been going after sunken Rilla, the city of Cthulhu,
Right.
the sunken city that turns up in the different dreams. I got to say that there is stuff on the seabed that, as far as I'm concerned, is extremely anomalous. Which is we've got sonar findings from the bottom of the ocean that match with satellite photographs sourced from elsewhere. That
Yes.
it's pretty convincing that these structures actually do exist, just like the details from Lovecraft's Roman dreams. So
Wow.
to what extent those things really are really do exist is as far as I'm concerned, the door is open.
Oh, you have more buried or underwater than there's a lot of history and a lot of culture that cannot easily be accessed, or that the powers that be prevent you from accessing for various reasons. So that does not surprise me. Hamilton and I've actually touched on a location like that. It was just like, that's interesting.
And cycling back to Lovecraft as an abductee or contactee.
Right. We will get back to you, Shabbat.
Yeah. The Whisper in Darkness, one of Lovecraft's later stories, really hits all the beats of a abductee, contactee story.
Right.
It even has a man in black who shows up knowing everything about the case, who picks the guy up from the station, and
there you
a
go.
lot of different elements which would
Yes.
only come into common thoughts after the modern UFOs started to exist in like the 1940s and 1950s until long after Lovecraft was gone.
Right.
So yeah, there are discernible elements of that contactee abductee scenario in the text.
Well, what's interesting is a lot of abductees or contactees now, according to some testimonials, will have apocalyptic dreams. So, you're thinking some people believe that it's the future, some people believe there's somewhere else, and other people believe it was the past, that civilization was brought here from this sort of a scenario from another place. Because because some of the things he touches on is just it's just a lot of dark stuff, and they believe that there are places, or even dimensionally, that we're just living multiple or simultaneous existences. And oh, sorry, Alex works. Here we go.
Yeah, good night, Alex.
Good night, Alex. Thanks for partaking. So so I lean to that theory. That one seems really plausible to me. Okay, we're gonna put this back up. Bubbles, can you get that for the listeners?
Yes, ask Richard about egregores.
Yeah, egregores.
Egregores, thank you.
Yeah.
This is a new language for me. That's all I'm
Okay,
saying.
well, egregore is not very far off from the tulpa.
Okay.
Okay. There we go.
It's something that can kind of be dreamed or willed into existence, a bit like a golem, in its original sense.
Like a golem type of thing?
Yeah, I think in its original sense, the golem wasn't so much a clay man, but the egregore of the force of the Prague ghetto that had to manifest in some kind of form, and then takes form. And there's the clay man created by Rabbi Ben Judah. Egregore is something which is kind of mass dreamed into shape. To some extent, Lovecraft's mythos is may be demonstrating the ability to kind of dream itself into existence. But then there's another Lovecraftian slant on that, because of course it could be the other way around. It could be that Cthulhu was dreaming us all along.
Uh-huh. Wow. I like that twist.
Yeah, for sure.
I
Whether
do.
I'm dreaming Cthulhu or it's dreaming me.
I like that. You get that one,
I can't
Amelia?
even pronounce that first
No.
word, and Alex went to bed.
Opened a door for him to see the future. That's what Alex was saying before.
Niall.
Yeah.
Can you read that, Richard? Is that a Lovecraft word?
No, Nyarlathotep.
Yep,
oh,
there we go. See, there we go.
geez, like it just rolls off your tongue.
It rolls off his tongue. I know.
Yep.
Yeah.
Avatar of Azathoth.
Yeah, there we go.
I still can't. My brain can't wrap around that word. It's just wrong on so many levels.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. That's one of the things I adore Lovecraft's alien characters for. And,
yes. That's what that is. One of the
they're meant to be unpronounceable.
Yes, like Nakaman Lalamam.
Yeah, I'm not right.
Sorry, I'm just like it's just so bad. I need time with it. That's something I didn't foresee when I was doing my research today, was the enunciation of all of these names, you know.
But I like this. His favorite book that he carried around was The Golem.
Nice.
And you know, as we speak of tulpas, there we go. So how did you let's just talk about your film then. So you brought these two, obviously, you know, Lovecraft, and definitely Lovecraft inspired. So what prompted you to want to do the film?
Well, I think, like most things in life, I probably had no choice. Simply a series of different forces, I guess, aligned in such a way that that it eventually happened. I could blame my mother for starting that process. She was a big H.P. Lovecraft fan, and
there we go.
got me to read the stories when I was young. So I first encountered Color Out of Space as a kid. So I think I started. I first poked around the idea of adapting Color Out of Space when I was about 13. Forgot about it again for a bunch of years. Then living down here in the Pyrenees, a bunch of different fairly Lovecraftian things happened over the years that reminded me of the stories.
I see. Any want to share?
Yeah, just bits and bobs. I mean, notably, there was a strong parallel to The Whisperer in Darkness, that aforementioned Lovecraft contactee abductee story. There's a place here called the Domaine de la Salles, which is an old house at the headwaters of the Salles River. It's a saline river that runs out of the hills behind Sougraine. And the former proprietor of the Domaine de la Salles, a man named Jean de Rigny, believed that there were ultra-dimensional extraterrestrial forces at work in the domain.
I believe it.
Moving
I've been to the zone. I believe it.
The floor of his house in it would have been the late 1980s, early 1990s. He produced a bunch of analog tape recordings of the sounds that were underneath the floor of his cottage, which he eventually managed to play on French television, which then I guess fed back through the conspiracy verse and ultimately through the internet to create a fully blown mass hysteria outbreak in 2012, which went so far out of line that a state of martial law was declared in the area. The whole area was locked down, which was
How did I miss this? I was so like a few years too late. I would love that stuff.
Yeah, which fully reminded me of the old farmer convinced that there's alien ultra-dimensional things underneath his cottage and living inside the hill in whisper and darkness, and the tape recordings that the Akeley farmer character makes in Lovecraft story. So there were various elements that happened out here that had cause to remind me of the original stories, and then.
That's pretty fascinating.
A few years ago, we shot a short film from a Clark Ashton Smith story, the Mother of Toads, and in the course of that, I realized that most of Smith's work was in public domain. It then became clear that well, if that's the case, what about Lovecraft? And we looked into the copyright on the Lovecraft stories, and realized that pretty much everything was in public domain. And at that point in time, my immediate instinct was to write an adaptation of the Dunwich horror. I really wanted to do Dunwich. The venture capitalist guy who was with us at the time in Montsegur said, "No, you've got to do color out of space." And I tried to kind of weasel out of it and say, "Well, no, how can you do that? It's like how can you portray a color you can't see?" Tried to back away from it, but more and more people said, "No, you've got to do color out of space." So eventually sat down and wrote color out of space.
Were there any restrictions on your direction of the film, or were you content with the way you brought it out to life?
I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out, actually.
Good.
It's because I think the closest transition from page to screen of pretty much anything I've worked on. It's it was a crazy thing, because initially I thought to try and shoot it in France, and the initial script was in fact set in France. And then as it juggled around the world, trying to get it made, it was like, can you set it in Canada? So I rewrote it to set it in Quebec. And then there was a suggestion that, we can get the money, but it has to be in Ireland. Can you rewrite it to set it in Ireland? And then somebody else said, well, heck, we can do it, but we can do it. It has to be South Africa.
So you really dropped
I got tired of rewriting it to move it from one country to another, and just went, fuck it, I'm going to set it in Arkham and go back to the source story. Wherever we end up shooting it in planet Earth, we'll just have to make it look like Arkham, Massachusetts.
Right.
You did a good job.
It kind of reverted back to being closer maybe to the original story that it started off being, Butch.
Right.
I'm so happy to hear that, because sometimes when you speak to directors or producers, there's those, I would have liked this or would have liked that. I love that you're very happy with the outcome. It's going to make people who haven't seen it want to run to it even more now that they know that it's as authentic as it gets.
We just got a nice endorsement a couple of days ago from John Carpenter as well, who
nice.
That's nice.
Congratulations.
Yes.
With Cage. So the fact that Carpenter liked it, and
that's really a good kudos right there.
The alpaca scene, I think, kind of.
The alpaca thing was just killing me. I loved it. But I don't want to give away stuff. But we have an alpaca farm close to our house that we've been to. It's my daughter that I've gone with her. So it was just, it was
like
strange,
alpacas,
but loved
basically, is what you're saying.
Pardon?
So, you like alpacas.
I love them. They put them in little sweaters here in the winter. They're so cute.
So Nicolas Cage, did you have to go to him? Did he come to you? Was he your first choice? Because Nicolas Cage loves this sort of stuff. So to me, he's just like a natural. But, because he's really into anything obscure.
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't think that any of us necessarily had any choice. It felt like a series of
sorry, Nicolas Cage.
I like Nick Cage.
That way, it was meant to be. Right. Nick was meant to be Nathan Gardner, and it just happened.
Right.
I mean, a script came into his hands during the shooting of Mandy, He's something of a Lovecraft fan.
Mhm.
Um,
Right.
Color is kind of a family movie, and it's also I think a nice reach for Nick, because he's playing a very nondescript and well-meaning family man. And
Yes.
yeah, it's a very different role
Yes.
for Nick. I don't think he's been given kudos for just
Yeah, with a hippie past. Yeah.
yeah.
He did really well.
Yeah, he plays a weak man. He's got Nathan's got his glasses. He's nervous. He's got poor hair. Then we go into it, we also see that he's utterly incapable of genuinely dealing with what's going on. And
Mhm.
I think the real fear, hurt, and incapacity on Nick's face at times is it's a very long way from Nick's normal
From
action.
National Treasure.
Right.
Well,
Yeah, Gone in 60 Seconds, Leaving Las
Right.
Vegas. Yeah, it's very different for him. That's what I love about him, though, is that he's not afraid to try anything, because didn't he was in Pay the Ghost.
yeah, he was.
And that was an incredible film too, and he did really well. That's when you start to see him change his characters. I love that he doesn't stick to a certain genre. He
He's
does
all
he
over the
does take
place.
challenges all the time, and I'm impressed that he doesn't go by his family name, so that no
Mm.
one casts him simply because of who his uncle is.
Right.
Yeah, I
So
think
I
Nick
love
and
that.
me are also a very good match in terms of. I'm always under the opinion that on some level I'm shooting a very dark comedy.
Right.
There's a level of black humor and
Yes.
in the performance, which I think is just on the right side of camp for me, which I absolutely adore.
Yeah, it's fantastic, because it's very much like what parenting is like today. Our generation of parenting is a little bit more relaxed than our parents' generation, and he portrayed that in the film. He portrayed that comfort, yet I have to kind of discipline, and you see that back and forth. He's incredible. There were so many facets to all of the characters, though.
Mm.
I love the camera work on some scenes. I was just like, wow.
And
Just
we're at that
yeah.
point where we have to do a station and sponsor ID.
Yes,
Sorry.
we do. And
Yes, anyway, thank you so much. Show some nice things.
Oh no, I watched it today, so I was really happy because I had to wait for it to come on. Anyways, we're going to go into why we can be here. You are listening to The Outer Realm with Michelle DeRoche and Amelia Pisano, coming to you live from the beautiful city of New Orleans on 105.3 FM and 107.7 FM. We stream internationally as well. Tonight, we've got a returning guest and friend, Richard Stanley, with us, and we are discussing H.P. Lovecraft and his latest film that just did so well during lockdown. If you haven't seen it, Color of Outer Space with Nick Cage, you need to see it. An incredible, incredible film that if you're a Lovecraft fan, whether you are or not, you're going to love it. You're really going to enjoy it. Stream or listen to all of our archives on the platform you normally use. And we want to give a huge thanks to the amazing people at Folgers Coffee for fully sponsoring our show from day one. We love you and we thank you for your continued support. And a huge shout out and thank you for our intro and our outro to Dr. Snick, the sonic surgeon, Justin Snicker, award-winning composer and musician. You can find his music on Amazon and Bandcamp, and find him on Facebook and Instagram, where he's dropping clips of his music daily. And you can get a taste of all that great music. There's a reason why he's won all those awards. He's fantastic. And if you're watching us on social media right now, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, wherever you're watching us from, Twitter, or all the 200 streams that we have, give us a like, give us a subscribe. We'd really appreciate it.
There we go. And we are back.
I can breathe now.
We are back. So are you looking at doing any other amazing Lovecraft films, like maybe Cthulhu? I would love to see a Cthulhu film. That would be awesome.
Well, that would
What do you
be the
think?
intent, yeah. Certainly, I'm very much hoping to continue to work in the Lovecraft universe and to try and mount some bigger adaptations.
Right.
That then comes down to whether that will be allowed in the current ecology, which is comes back to the running culture wars and the attempts to cancel even myself or the material or our cast members.
Sign of the times.
I can't believe the control that is out there.
Yes. So yeah, that does make it difficult as an author or a filmmaker. Even any sort of artist, singer, you have to be so careful now. I think gone are the times of free speech, so to speak. I think it's a lot more limited than we thought. You know what we got flagged on today on social media, on Facebook? Was one of our shows when we were up for the podcast awards in California, and we had to play the podcast award, the
banner.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was just like, the little commercial that.
Yeah. Oh, the commercial. Yes.
They basically said it was spam.
That's what it was. I thought they spammed our promotion.
I'm like protesting. I'm just clicking the button. Like, guys are assholes.
It's ours.
I know.
That belongs to us. What are we spamming? It's an award show.
Advertising for the podcast awards that we didn't do.
That's ridiculous.
The network. It was a network advertising of all the shows on the network that were put up for it.
Do it every year.
Yeah. And I saw that. I was like, I was button clicking, and I was just ready to send some hate mail.
When they put out that list of when they put out that list of books that they canceled, I went through my own personal library, saw what I had and what I didn't have, and I went and purchased them before I can't get them.
Right.
Because I couldn't believe the classics that they have canceled. And once the print is done, it's done. They're not printing them again.
Yes.
I'm like, these were books that were on the curriculum of school for me, for my English classes. Mm-hmm. I didn't understand any of it. I can't understand a lot of it because I don't live it. Mm-hmm. And I respect that. I just have a strong opinion that when it's something that's way back, you can't bring it forward. Focus on what's happening now.
And beyond that, it's just clearly something that needs to be resisted. Fought against with literally with guns and knives, because in some respects it's becoming a situation where we are being persecuted for our beliefs and for our cultural choices. That's just wrong on any level, and if it ain't right and it ain't fair, and it isn't also about social justice most of the time, because of what I'm seeing time and again is decisions are being made on the back of lies and on the back of things which are being fully distorted, like this issue of are you prepared to cancel H.P. Lovecraft's work because it's crammed with N-words? So it's like
a lot of works from then were though.
When it comes down to the name of the childhood cat, it's ridiculous. It's no proof that the guy or the fan base are racists or white supremacists or anti-Semites or anything else, and it needs to be fully resisted. It cannot be cancelled.
See, us Italians, we're strange. We see the mob movies and we support them. It's something that maybe we shouldn't, but we do.
Richard is in France, Chris. So I don't know if he would know this, but Amelia, do you want to get that?
Richard, does the UK have free speech? They're not as PC as we are here. That I do know.
Yeah, I don't know the extent of the fear and paranoia in the UK. I suspect they're also pretty frightened.
What about your neck of the woods?
In my neck of the woods, I guess folk care less, but we haven't really got a local film industry here which is capable of turning out material and putting it into streaming. And of actually getting material into people's lounges or getting access to the distribution platforms.
Right.
We're still essentially have to fight through the culture wars, which means having to ultimately stand up for I think for what we believe in, because so long as we're saying, oh well, yeah, Lovecraft was maybe a terrible man and maybe those are the times he lived in, it's we've got to separate the work from the artist. It's like, no, goddammit, I do not believe the guy is a racist. I do not think any of the people who are his fans or reading that material have anything to be ashamed of, and I think the reasons that we come to it is because of the otherworldly spectrum that it offers, and the sense of deep time in the universe that it's in. And I think we need to stand up for the things we like and apologize for it, and also demand that alternative points of view are represented in popular culture.
Yeah, because that's some of the first things you find, like, researching all the little ins and outs today, like the racist. That's why I said it. I'm just like, this is a very big belief system among many people, and that goes way back. Now it's even worse with, I believe what we're, like you say, what we're allowed to say and not allowed to say.
It's nuts on so many levels. I mean, we all know that those who don't learn from mistakes of the past are doomed to repeat them. That by erasing the darkest parts of history leaves the way open for those things to happen again.
Mm-hmm. Oh, history has a way of repeating itself. History has repeated itself how many times? We go in cycles. Every generation has something repeating itself in one form or another. We don't seem to learn from our misgivings. It just
we get relaxed.
I mean, I guess also another reason I'm pretty strident about the whole situation of cancel culture and the Great Reset, apart from the fact that I'm imminently in danger of becoming erased myself, along with pretty much everything that I love and adore, is the fact that I've been through this before. I lived in apartheid era South Africa, where there was complete censorship, a lot of religious censorship, no pornography whatsoever, and not even breast nudity. I think some lingerie magazines was as far as it went. Pretty much everything banned. The Rocky Horror Picture Show banned. David Cronenberg's Scanners banned. Joe Dante's The Howling banned. Ridiculous movies that were criminal. Dawn of the Dead banned. South Africa, full-on censorship, very, very religious, and people
Has it changed?
Yeah, it is very.
Did it change after you've left?
Yeah, everything was decriminalized after the fall of the apartheid regime, which was wonderful because you could drive through Cape Town and all of a sudden there was like no law, and you were seeing on first release all at the same time in cinemas Texas Chainsaw Massacre and I Spit on Your Grave, and suddenly all these movies that hadn't been released were playing stream releases. People were offering you marijuana or LSD when you were trying to buy hot dogs, and it was great for a short period of time.
Right.
Yeah, they're still doing that in Barbados, by the way. I was there just a few years ago.
Yeah.
But my girlfriend is from South Africa. She was born and raised and then came as a young child because of what was happening there. And they were a very wealthy family that even their servants were driving Mercedes. That's how well off they were. And they came here completely poor. Start from nowhere because they had to leave everything behind.
Times don't change, but getting away from the point was that at that time under the apartheid regime, when we were all growing up under such incredible censorship that none of us even knew that pornography existed until we got out of the country. It's completely everything was completely airbrushed. At that point in time, per capita to the white population, we had like the world's highest rate of family slayings. More husbands came home from work and killed their children and shot the dog and shot the TV set than any other country. We had more one-day pattern killings. We had incredibly high murder rates. South Africa's probably still got one of the highest murder rates in the world. An incredibly high amount of sexual violence. Domestic violence. It did not lead to a kinder or gentler society.
Right.
situation of total censorship and where you cancel and keep away anything that might be disturbing, people's heads exploding, people turning into wolves, Tim Curry dressing up in ladies' underwear. Just
we love Tim Curry.
Yes,
Yeah.
you don't get a better, gentler, more egalitarian society. You get a nation of psychopaths.
Right.
I made a comment about when Will Smith had smacked Chris Rock at the Oscars, and I called him a thug, because anybody who gets up on a stage in a public place like that type of event is a thug. You're a bully. And I got called racist, and I'm like, I debated for 3 days if I should comment, and all I wrote was, based on what, you need to take a look at my family photo before you call me something like that, because I disagree with you. So I'm racist because I'm telling you that he's a thug. I'm defending Chris Rock. Aren't they both the same color? So anyways, you guys need to chill out there over stuff like that, though. Seriously. I don't pay any attention to people who have no time but to comment on things and then walk away like nothing was ever said. We need to be accountable for our actions. That's what's missing today, is accountability. Okay, question. Richard, what do you like about Lovecraft personally?
Apart from the fact that he obviously loved his cat, which immediately endears me to him. I think he was a very quiet man, and his observations of the fantastical nature of the world around him often ring true to me. And as a result, I've had lots of little Lovecraft moments throughout my life, which made me think affectionately of him. Also, he clearly had a very hard time dealing with the modern world in any way at all. He did get married and tried to live in New York for a couple of years, and just was horrifically miserable.
Right.
Was forced to retreat and try to get as far from the city as possible. I do feel sympathy for him.
I think that's what a lot of people are trying to do now. I wonder how he'd fare up in this time, the way society is. I mean, I have hope, for society. I do. I have hope that people will just stand up and go for what they believe in.
I think that's what we got to do at the end of the day, is stop apologizing and stop being ashamed of what we know we love, that we know in our hearts that we're not racists, we're not anti-Semites, we're none of the things that we're being accused of. And it's with all of art and everything that humans create in music, there's always going to be a percentage of people who absolutely hate it. If it's in any way is edgy, it's going to be most people are going to hate it. We can't not have those things exist, because some people are going to hate it, because that's fully crazy.
But that's what life is, though. You just, we're not drones. We basically love some things. Other people don't love some things, like Lovecraft. Love him or hate him. There's real people who really love him and people who just don't.
They don't understand him. That's why.
Well, exactly. But that's what I'm saying. Like, you just have people who they just have their taste, and they don't go out of their way to try to learn about it.
And they don't have to understand him. It's an acquired taste.
Yes, exactly.
Just because they don't understand something doesn't give them the right to genocidally exterminate it.
No,
exactly.
Like sci-fi is an acquired taste, and you'll never hear me put down Star Wars, but I've never watched an episode either.
Well, it's just like taking down a historical statue. Just because you don't agree with the history, it doesn't make the history go away just because the statue isn't there. Now, some people believe, well, you should never take it down. We just don't ever want history to repeat itself. It's a reminder of that. And other people say, well, yeah, but the statue represents a bad time, in our history. And it's just a vicious circle. It's sort of, the way things are. It's human nature, unfortunately, but hopefully people grow from it.
I think that started when they started covering cigarettes here in the stores.
Yeah.
Out of sight, out of mind, but yet people are still smoking. I mean, you know what I mean? So
I'm still smoking, and if I can cut to the chase
do
as
they
well.
cover them in your stores there in south of France, or are they in the open view?
An open view, but
Okay.
but there's no packaging. Everything is black.
Right.
Okay.
All the
That's
packets are black.
different. Yeah.
Or black, or decorated with photographs of the horrific things that smoking can do to you.
Yes,
Oh, hold
yes,
on. We
here
gotta
as
get back
well.
to this
Oh,
question.
Jim's here.
Thing that it's
Yeah.
really hard to find your tobacco in the dark.
This is true.
Chevelle,
We'll
I
get
quit
to this
3 years
question, then
ago.
we'll get to Jim.
Chevelle asks, have you visited his grave?
I certainly have, yes. And I had a very good time in Providence, and it was there a few years ago, and managed to do it in time for a partial solar eclipse. So
Ooh, very nice.
I kind of
Very
went there
nice.
just to make my peace before doing color, and I was delighted at how much of Providence's fabric remains unchanged from Lovecraft's time, and how it's still possible to
That's really cool.
really
Beautiful.
take those same walks and sit in those same spots, and be right there.
I love being in places where time stands still. Nothing really changes.
All of Massachusetts is like that. The entire
there's
state.
a grave in
entire state.
the little 17th century graveyard in Providence where Lovecraft figured out Poe used to sit to write couplets, so he sought out the place where Edgar Allan Poe had sat, so he could go and sit there himself, and it's still there.
Yeah,
Right.
there's tons of statues of Edgar Allan Poe all over Boston.
I love it.
Yeah, Jim Gerard. Hi, Jim. The introductory video on the Richard Stanley website is totally awesome. Really captures the animated dream time.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah, Chris Phoenix says, if I ever get to France, I would totally hang out with Richard. He's very cool.
Well, ironically enough, Richard does tours. It can maybe happen.
Yes, he does.
I used to back before the this whole COVID thing came down. Taking around, but
put a damper.
Tourism business basically crashed and burned over the last few years.
Well, hopefully, I have a friend who goes to, I believe he's probably met you because he's spoken about you, but he does tours. He lives in Texas, and then he goes to the south of France for a few months, and he's got his little niche in there, and people come from all over the world to sit, and they'll do tours with him. I told Hamilton, I said, you guys should all collaborate because, he still goes strong down there. So how long that'll last, because he couldn't get to south of France when everything hit here. So everything sort of went quiet, and he went back and had a quiet time in France. And then the following year, it was just like this past summer, business as usual. So
the pulse of life is semi-returning, but it's been a freaky year for all of us. I mean, it's been quasi-Lovecraftian, I guess. I mean, there've been a couple of in the sort of more actively threatening part of the Ukraine conflict, when they started talking about drug around. There was a point when all of the solid Wi-Fi out here in these mountains went down for over 48 hours. During that time, there was a couple of hours when we were all thinking, hang on, did a thermonuclear war just happen? Is the outside world still out there? And it's had its moments,
yeah. Oh, yeah. I just like to think this is something that's just going to go behind us. So,
wow. Chevelle lived in one of his homes in Providence, and it was haunted. Wow.
Can you imagine being haunted by H.P. Lovecraft?
I'd sit down and have a conversation with him, but
I'd start writing. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go. Yeah. Some more of that dream stuff. My God, man, it's just, I don't know. I love them. So, what do you have coming up? Because I know we're slowly nearing the end here. So what do you have coming up? I know that you and Hamilton are coming back on at the end of the month. So you guys have obviously been collaborating. So can you elaborate a little bit on that? Just to get people all excited for the end of the month when you come on with Hamilton. Do you know you're coming on, Hamilton? So, yes.
Here in the Pyrenees, we're basically still fighting a crazy ongoing sorceress battle that I hope will eventually fully resolve itself. But
Right.
it's gone through a number of twists and turns. What I can say is that I'm very much hoping to return to dramatic feature film production next year. But in the interim, a feature length documentation of the ongoing war here in the zone, so war against the witches, is due to land in the next, I'd say, 2 to 3 months. And the current title is Shadowland. Shadowland should land with us, before the end of winter, which is I guess a 1.5 to 2 hour, real life apocalyptic horror story about what's been going on here in the last 2 years, and I think it's going to be colorful.
Colorful. I like that. Yeah.
We're still trying to get the goddamn Holy Grail book out.
Yes.
And that's been blocked by a number of crazy forces. One of them being the escalating cost of paper, thanks to the war in the Ukraine, which suddenly made it economically unviable to do the print run.
Maybe you need to come to Canada to print.
We
have loads of forests. We supply the world with our lumber and our paper.
True.
Yeah, it's something that's hit a lot of folk, the sudden paper shortage, and everyone's been doing the same thing, which is like, oh well, print is dead anyway. Why bother with printing?
We don't have very much on paper here. Most things are emailed.
Yeah,
we started that years ago.
I really want to see it as an actual book between
yes,
the two.
I'm finding a lot of authors feel that way, and I think it's a little bit harder to snag too. When everything goes digital, it just seems to get copied. And I have a friend who's had like 4 books plagiarized because he had them as downloadable copies.
And that's also part of the insane drama that's been playing out here. So we'll let that wait until we get Hamilton on the next episode. But in the heart of this, there's also a manuscript that has been plagiarized, which stolen from a dead man from Tim Wallace Murphy, who died to a bunch of folk in Esperanza. And there is the matter of Tim's manuscript, which has been plagiarized.
Wow.
It's part of the crazy ongoing battle down here.
Because he's wow. That's a shame. That is a shame. He's just another genius. I just loved him. Wow, it sounds like you've got your hands full over there, and you and Hamilton are back on the 29th. I think the big question is going to be, are we doing this live? You're good for live. Hamilton, not so much. He doesn't like staying up.
I can't do during the day that day either.
I know. So we're going to have to talk to Hamilton.
We'll have to bully him.
I know. So Hamilton, if Richard could stay up, you're going to have to stay up and do a live show.
Will he be in France with you, Richard, when you're...
The end of the month? Yeah, 29th.
I don't know at this point in time, because it's really...
it's crazy.
It's between Christmas and New Year's.
I keep waiting for a quiet day.
Right.
There's been some kind of state of malady running pretty much every morning. Open up for us as long as I remember.
Okay, no problem, dear.
We won't hold you guys to anything, so don't worry.
I'm sure you're happy with the late hour. Works for me.
Right.
Then we'll just bully Hamilton into staying awake. That's 4 against 1. Or 3 against 1. I need sleep.
She can't even count. 1, 2, 3.
Cold
Amelia with 3.
medication. Cold medication.
With 3.
Yeah,
Oh my
maybe
gosh.
I'll leave you with the Necronomicon story.
Yes, please.
Because I was always convinced that the Necronomicon was a fictional trope made up by Lovecraft or coming from one of his dreams.
Yes.
Then a couple of times, first of all, I became aware that the Berlin University Library claims to have a copy. But then attempts to try to get the Berlin University Library to cough up their copy, then produced after searching for it, they claimed that they didn't have it anymore, that it had been lost in the war. Brian Yuzna, the producer of the Reanimator movies, went down the same path and also found that there's this record of the Berlin University Library having had a copy before World War II, which would seem very early for a Lovecraft hoax.
Yes.
So there was that, and then during my travels, I fell into the company of a Dutch smuggler who had smuggled a large amount of hashish back from Lebanon.
Holy crap.
To fund one rinky-dink terrorist movement or another. And I asked him in the course of the conversation, what was the weirdest thing that you ever smuggled? And he told me that he had once had to carry back from Baalbek in the Bekaa Valley a book of black magic bound in human leather and written in human blood, which he had to bring back to Europe for someone. The fun thing about the guy who was telling me the story was that he was dyslexic and boasted that he had never read a book in his life, that never heard of H.P. Lovecraft or the Necronomicon. The same guy who was smuggling the drugs back from the Bekaa Valley was also smuggling a copy of the Necronomicon.
Oh my god!
What surprises me is that Hamilton doesn't have one, because Hamilton's got everything else.
Well, maybe he's not telling us.
Yeah, I know. Of course, I'm just kidding.
We did turn up a lovely copy of the Red Dragon the other day. This wasn't on Hamilton's watch, but the Red Dragon's a notorious French grimoire, and a nice copy of that one surfaced in Montsegur a couple of months ago. The occasional magic tomes do float to the surface sometimes.
Definitely living on the wrong side of the world.
I'm good. I'm safe here.
I love South of France. I love South of France.
I do too, but I don't want to get involved in all that.
No, I can't wait to get back there. It's just beautiful. Not enough time to see everything, unfortunately. And clearly, I don't get to see all the cool things that are just all behind the scenes. So, wow, thank you for joining us. And sorry you had a problem coming on. I just tend to wonder if it's, why it was glitchy, just sitting in the background, because you definitely didn't surface up until the point where we brought you on. So, because I sent you probably 4 or 5 different links, like, where are you?
Yeah, I kept hitting on them, and it kept taking me back into some kind of studio waiting room.
Could you see us, though?
No, I couldn't see you.
No, then you weren't in the waiting room.
Then you weren't in, it's just weird.
You have to be able to, if you see us, you're in a green room.
Yeah, you would see us, you would hear us, and then up
until...
Yeah,
I was doing me myself, and saying you will be admitted, you can be admitted on air at any time or something.
Oh God, that's crazy.
Maybe you didn't enter studio.
Oh yeah, if you have to actually click the enter and then it brings you in. That's crazy. You were just in cyberspace somewhere.
Yeah,
I know.
Chamber.
Gosh, freaky stuff. But thank you for coming on. It was just such a pleasure. Love having you join us, and looking forward to having you and Hamilton on together. That's going to be a party right there.
I'll just keep my mic on mute.
Yeah, you take care over there, and
thank you, and you also.
Thank you,
and good luck with all the chaos that you're experiencing down there. So,
it's kind of symptomatic of what the whole world's going through, but on some kind of crazy microcosmic level.
Well, let's hope you still have a great Christmas, regardless.
Yes. And this one is for you. CC sends blessings to you. So I guess you'll know what that means. But thank you. And
I will say is Yay Thulu Finigluin Wilwana Fatachen.
We'll take that as a perfect exit.
Good night.
Thank you.
Sleep well.
Hey, take care.
Guys.
Good night, Richard. Or good morning. Well, that was awesome. I just feel so bad that he had such a hard time getting on the soundboard, because we would have had an extra, half hour of Mr. Richard Stanley, but we'll save it for his next time on. So guys, make a note of December 29th for Hamilton White and Richard Stanley together. So make sure you mark your calendars. But for now, we have come to the end of another fantastic segment right here on the Outer Realm. Big thank you, of course, to Richard Stanley for being a champion and staying up like until crazy hours of the morning, because I'm sure it's going to be daylight over there by now. Also, big thank you to Folgers Coffee. Big thank you to Dr. Snick, Justin Snicker. Feel free to drop us a line if there's somebody you want to see on the show, or if you want to see a certain topic matter. Just email us at the outerrealmcontact@gmail.com. Again, the outerrealmcontact@gmail.com, or just go to our Facebook page and click on the email button. Nice and easy. But wherever you are watching the show tonight, please, guys, just like us, subscribe, follow, whatever it takes. Just please do it. We appreciate your support. Now, next week, Wednesday right now is a mystery, because we actually had, you can tell it's the time of year, people just have Christmassy things to do. We actually had to reschedule 2 shows. So Wednesday right now, I've got a couple good emails out, and I have a feeling we're going to get a hit on it, but we have a waiting list except for December. So anyway, but I know some of you out there, Tamara, will be really happy about Thursday night. We're going to welcome back Dave Bennison to the show. We love Dave. He's a personal friend, and he does a lot of history stuff around the Niagara Falls region. And we're going to be doing a topic called Weird Niagara. We've had people come on and talk about, Niagara Falls and a lot of the mysteries that surround it. But Dave has just come up with research that I had no idea. We were talking one day, and I'm like, you're kidding. I've never heard of this. How is this a thing? So I said, you have to come back on and share this with everybody. It's just going to be fantastic. So that's going to be Thursday night. I know, buddy Dave. There we go. So, guys, we thank you, and everybody in chat room. I'm thrilled that you guys had a good time. We had a good time. You guys make it that much better. So, everyone, behave yourselves. Have a fantastic weekend. If you're out, just braving the wilds of the Christmas shopping, just be careful out there. It gets really crazy, especially on the roads. So, good night.